Hey, what is happening, y'all? Today I'm showing off how I'm taking advantage of Milotic EX in the Surging Sparks format. Before we jump into the build, I want to give a big shout out to Nolan Randall, who got top 8 at the Baltimore Regional Championships. I took a lot of inspiration from their Ogerpon Noivern build to put together this Milotic Walls build, so shout out to them. Also, got to give a big shout out to Dragon Shield for sponsoring the content I make over here on the YouTube channel as a competitor in the PokemonTCG with the live streams and all of that. Of course, I love them for their card sleeves. They have a bunch of other high-quality premium gaming accessories as well, so be sure to go check that out. But if you need a recommendation for sleeves, I highly recommend the matte magenta sleeves, so check them out. dragonshield.com. Code AzulGG will get you a discount over there as well, and link will be in the description, of course. So Milotic EX Stage 1 EX Pokemon here with that Sparkling Scales ability. Prevent all damage and effects done to this Pokemon by your opponent's Pokemon Terra Pokemon's attacks. So it's basically a wall against all Terra Pokemon attacks and damage and yada yada. Then it's got that Hypno Splash for a water double color. So it does 160 damage. Your opponent's active is now asleep. Now you might not realize how many Pokemon are Terra Pokemon, but this would include Dragapult EX, Charizard EX, Ogerpon EX, Terrapagos. Got to be some more. I'm gonna say Pikachu EX. It covers a pretty wide range of Pokemon that this can't be hit by, so it's pretty good, but it doesn't cover everything, so we can't really play it in a deck by itself. We do have a 2/2 Milotic because that will go a long way in the matchups that it's really strong against, but we need to back it up with something else, specifically to beat Raging Bolt. That's going to be a big one. So we play a 2/2 Noivern EX with that Covert Flight attack. For 2 colorless energy, it does 70 damage, and then during your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon can't be damaged by basic Pokemon. So we try and get down to a board state of a lone Noivern. Now, the current counts for the Noivern and the Milotic is a 2/2 each. We might need to go a little bit higher on the basic count, but currently starting off with going with that. And then finally, there are some other decks that we would need Ogerpon for, namely Regidrago. Regidrago is going to be able to deal with our Milotic and our Noivern EX, but Regidrago V-Star does struggle with the Ogerpon because Regidrago has an ability. So we got the 3 of Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon EX in here with that Cornerstone stance. Prevent all damage from attacks done to this Pokemon by your opponent's Pokemon that have an ability. And it's got that Demolish attack for a fighting 2 colorless energy, 140 damage. This attack's damage isn't affected by weakness or resistance or any other effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. Also, the Lugia matchup is why we need the Ogerpons. If we can use the Ogerpons to get through the Chinchinos, then the Lugia V-Stars, the Archeops can't hit the Ogerpons. Lugia V still can. And we have some other tech cards in here for the Lugia Vs, and we'll get to those here in a second. Another card that we're including for the Lugia matchup is that Diancie with the Diffuse Reflection attack here. For a colorless energy, it does 40 damage for each special energy card attached to all of our opponent's Pokemon. So pretty good against Lugia. Got one of those Diancies in here. Maybe we'd even go up a little bit higher on the Diancie count if Lugia really is that big of a threat. Lugia's pretty good right now. I don't think it's going to go away in the Surging Sparks format. So we might need another Diancie or like another Night Stretcher so we can recover it. We are an Arven-based build. We are taking advantage of some TMs, which we'll get to here in a little bit. So we have 4 Arven. We also have 3 Iono, pretty powerful card. We have 2 Colress's Tenacity, and I love the idea of the Colress's Tenacity in here because it can find us a double turbo energy, and it kind of is like a pseudo Arven in a way. We play TMs, like I mentioned. Colress's Tenacity can find us our energy for turn in a double turbo energy. It can also find us a Town Store, which can then find us TM Evolution or TM Turbo Energize, and we'll talk about those here when they come up. But it's kind of like an Arven in this deck for that reason. It's interesting. 2 Colress's Experiment, just some mid-game draw power there. 2 Penny, so we can kind of board fix to play around whatever our opponent is playing. We want to make them go through 3 Ogerpons or get down to low Noivern or only Milotics in play. We can do that with the pennies. Stuff like that. Single boss's orders in here. Into the item cards, we got 4 Pokegears because it's all about finding Arven in that early game. The Pokemon search count is a little weird here. 3 Nest Ball, 2 Ultra Ball, and 1 Buddy Poffin. So we definitely want at least 1 Buddy Poffin because we want to be able to aggressively find the Noibats or the Feebas, and ideally multiple of them because it's so important to get to that first Milotic or first Noivern. So I got a Buddy Poffin in here. At least 1. More Nest Balls, more Ultra Balls there could also be an argument for that, but we do play TM Evolution, so we don't need a ton of Stage 1 Pokemon search if we can get it through the TM Evolution. 1 Earthen Vessel in here, help us find our basic energy. 1 Energy Lotto, an extra way to kind of go find our double turbo energy. Of course, we have the Colress's Tenacity, but you can't Arven for a double turbo energy, but you can Arven for an Energy Lotto. Pretty cool. One counter catcher. We probably will fall behind in most early games. One Night Stretcher for a little bit of recovery. We don't need a ton in here, I don't think, so just one Night Stretcher. A Heavy Ball. We really need to get double Feebas in play and double Noivern, so we need that Heavy Ball, or we need to increase the counts of these, one or the other at the very least. A Scoop Up Cyclone. Another way to aggressively allow us to fix our board or reuse Ogerpons aggressively, which is mostly important in the Lugia matchup, and that's why the pennies are pretty good as well, to be able to pick up and put back down our Ogerpons and kind of like heal them and continue attacking with Ogerpons turn after turn. One thing that Nolan played in their list from Baltimore was an EXP share to be able to more efficiently chain Ogerpons, which I thought was really, really cool. I don't have that in my build right now, but definitely something I could see including in the future if it comes up in the Lugia matchup. All right. TM Turbo Energize, a way to aggressively get a bunch of energy in play to utilize with our Ogerpon. Can also use it to set up Milotic. Noivern just runs off double Turbo Energy, so it's less important for Noivern, but we could accelerate energy to our Noivern. TM Evo, this is pretty good with the Milotic specifically because Milotic's ability is what allows it to become a wall Pokemon for the certain matchup that we're in, whereas Noivern has to come through the attack. It's a little bit less important to like turbo out our Noiverns. Also, Feebas do be having 30 HP, so it's pretty squishy, so we want to get those evolved as quickly as possible in the matchups where we want to use Milotic. So the TM evolution is for that. There's a rock chest plate in here. This is actually a really cool tech for the Lugia matchup. Once again, give a shout out to Nolan on this one. If you put it on the Ogerpon and then they try and punch you with a Lugia V, not the V-Star, because the V-Star has the ability so it can't hit us. So if they hit us with Lugia V, which is one of the few attackers they can use against us, we reduce the damage we take by 30, which means Lugia V only hits us for 100, which means they 3-hit KO the Ogerpon because of the 210 HP. So we got a lot of cards in here for the Lugia matchup, but pretty good deck, and I don't think it's going anywhere. One Rescue Board, a little bit of mobility through the Arven. A switch card could also be something we could include, but we do have the Scoop Up Cyclone, so that's effectively a switch. One Artisan. I'm not sure how I feel about the Artisan. Not sure if that's actually worth it. Maybe it should just be another Nest Ball. One Town Store. I guess the Artisan is probably worth it because that means we can turn a Colch's Tenacity into a Pokemon search card, but it can only find like Feebas and Noibat. It can't find the Ogerpons. For the energy count, I just have 4 basic water energy, 4 basic fighting energy, and 4 double turbo energy. And that's it. That's the 60. That is the Milotic Walls for the Surging Sparks format. Let's shuffle it up. Run through a quick test hand. I'm not sure what we're going to try and do with the test hand. Maybe we'll turbo for Milotic once we get this thing shuffled up. All right, just all about shuffled up here. And it's going to be hard to play through a solitaire game with this deck, to be honest, because how we set up our board state is super dependent on what matchup we're up against, right? We are a Walls deck, so we don't beat everything by setting up Milotic every time or something like that. Okay, but we can pretend. I think we should pretend. Milotic is the new card. Let's just say we're playing aggressively for Milotic here. We're trying to pull off a TM evolution or something like that turn 1, and I think we'd probably be choosing second on average in formats, but I'm not 100% sure. But let's just say we're going second for the sake of this game here. Draw for turn into that Colch's Tenacity, and we are coming up a little bit short. The Tenacity can find us a double turbo energy plus TM evolution through the Town Store, but that's not exactly what I want to find here. I do want to find, I think, Arven. Arven is just what I want here off this Pokegear. So let's just start with Pokegear here. Boom, there we go. All right, we're going into the deck with Arven, so I'm just going to go ahead and flip my prize cards face up to make this process a little bit easier. And it looks like we didn't prize any of our most important cards for the Arven. So we'll go with the Arven. We'll get our Buddy Poffin. That's why we played that. And we'll get our TM Evolution. And we can grab ourselves the whole squad here. And I'm not sure there's going to be much more to show off after this, to be honest. This is what we do here. So I'm going to put these on top so y'all don't get too confused. So we got those are in the deck still. So these all go to hand. We play the Buddy Poffin. We get our Feebas. TM Evolution to the active, and then we want to conserve the water energy for the Feebas, so we go with the fighting energy, activate the TM Evolution, get ourselves double Milotic, and I'm not gonna lie, I think if we're up against a Dragapult deck here, I think we're set up pretty well. Now, we don't have the energy on the Milotics yet, but the only thing Dragapult can do against our Milotics would be attacking with the Dracloak or popping Dusknors to actually put damage on our Milotics. So we got a decent amount of time here, and we can even start attacking with Ogerpon next turn with a double Turbo Energy through the Colch's Tenacity, or we could go get that Turbo Energize and put that on the Ogerpon and then set up energy on our Milotics. We have a couple different options we could take on that next turn. I think I would lean towards the Turbo Energize play. Just get the Milotics set up and ready to swing as soon as possible. I think that's the route I would go here, but I'm not too sure. Yeah, so there's not too much I can do with the solitaire game with this deck, to be honest, but that is it. That's my first take on Milotic Walls. Catch you all in the next video.